everybody, and welcome to News of the Week, episode 7 on the Seahawk recap show. And how are we all feeling about week 2? I'm feeling great. Seahawks are back in the win column. If you would like to watch the full breakdown of that game of week 2, Seahawks versus Lions, it is on my channel in the Seahawk game recap playlist. And we got a lot to get through today, so enough of my rambling. But before we get to the show, please, if you like this show, please give it a like, as it really helps out the channel and does more than you know. Please consider subscribing if you really liked it and want to see any future content from me. And if you would like, please share this video with your Seahawks buddies or anybody that just likes football content in general so that we can build a nice little community here. Well, without further ado, let's get in to episode 7 of News of the Week. All right. So I named this episode Into the Unknown because we have some teams here that are now 0-2 and 2-0 on the season. So I will give my thoughts on their performance this season. But let's start off with the week 2 recap, shall we? Well, Eagles versus Vikings, 38-34. Eagles win that one on Thursday Night Football to start us off. Bengals versus Ravens, 27-24. Ravens win that one. Lions versus Seahawks, 37-31. Seahawks win it in OT, and I'm so happy about that. We're in the win column, so hopefully we can build some momentum going into week 3 versus the Panthers. But the Colts versus Texans, 31-20. Colts win that one. Buccaneers versus Bears, 27-17. Buccaneers win that one. And this is a really puzzling game to me. The next one up, it's Jaguars versus Chiefs. Very low scoring, something that I didn't expect from the Chiefs, but 17-9. Chiefs win that one out. And this was another bit of a nail biter. Falcons versus Packers, 25-24. Falcons win. Buffalo Bills get back in the win column versus the Raiders, 38-10. What a statement from them. And Chargers versus Titans, another close one. This one also in OT. Titans win that one out, 27-24. And the 49ers, man, versus Rams, 30-23. 49ers win that one. And just utter dominance from the 49ers. They look like they're prepped to win the West, probably. But we get to the Cardinals versus Giants, and it's 31-28. Giants winning that one, getting back in the win column. Jets versus Cowboys, 30-10. The Cowboys win that one and only giving up 10 points. This is a very good defense, I think, in the Cowboys. And I'm not saying it's their year, but they're starting off strong. Then we get to the Commanders versus Broncos, 35-33. Commanders win. And man, in the new regime, 2-0. Great to see. Patriots versus Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa keeps up his streak of 5 straight wins, no losses versus the Patriots. 24-17. Dolphins win that. Saints versus Panthers, 20-17 on Monday Night Football. Saints win that. And the other doubleheader, Steelers versus Browns, 26-22. Steelers win that. But an unfortunate way to end the game, really, because let's talk about the week 2 injury report. And this is why Nick Chubb gets injured in the Steelers game. He's placed on IR, and he was placed on IR September 20th with a knee injury, effectively ending his season. You need to know this injury was bad enough that the broadcast didn't even show it. And you could find videos now online looking at the knee injury. But man, just an unfortunate set of circumstances for Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league, and I hope he comes back stronger. So all prayers for him. And then Buda Baker, let's get to that. The Cardinals just can't win, man. Buda Baker on IR now, September 19th, hamstring injury. The good thing is he's not ending his season. He will be eligible to come back in week 7. And then we get to the Panthers, and Shaq Thompson was placed on IR on September 19th with a lower leg injury. I believe it was a fibula leg injury, and he's out indefinitely. So that means his season is now ended. It was confirmed that he is out for the season. And then we get to the Lions. The Lions have two key injuries, and that's CJ Gardner Johnson and James Houston are both placed on IR. Johnson was placed on IR September 20th, Houston the September 19th. Johnson had a pectoral injury, and James Houston had an ankle injury. Dan Campbell isn't ruling out Johnson in terms of returning, but it looks like this could be a season-ending injury. It's just not confirmed if it's season-ending or not. But the good news is James Houston will only miss 4 games. This really sucks. This is a big blow to not only the Cowboys, but the NFC cornerbacks in general. Trayvon Diggs was placed on our September 21st, tore his ACL, effectively ending his season. And this really sucks because he suffered the injury in practice. That just sucks. That's brutal. As a football fan, you never want to see someone injured in practice, especially with a season-ending injury. All the prayers to him, and I hope he comes back and has a really good season next year. Let's get into the meat of the episode, and let's talk about the 2-0 teams right now on the NFC side of things. My thoughts. This is all my opinion, so don't come at me in the comments. The 49ers getting off to a 2-0 start. Let's start off with them. It's not surprising. This team from top to bottom, coach, GM, and the players on it are insanely good. Brock Purdy, coming from the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, is turning into Mr. Relevant. I know that was kind of cheesy, but it is true. He's 7-0 through his first couple of starts, and man, they're building the offense around him, which is really nice to see. He's got some major weapons in Deebo Samuel, Brendan Ayuk, now Christian McCaffrey. He's still got George Kittle there on the offense. But I want to talk about this defense. This defense is top 5 in the NFL for me. And I know it's a little bit biased because they're in the NFC West, but man, they're just that good. Pass rush, Nick Bosa. You got Eric Armstead, who's been always a reliable pass rusher and run stopper in the run game. Then you got the secondary level with Fred Warner. Fred Warner, one of the best middle linebackers in the game. And just this team from top to bottom is just brilliant. And they're one of the main reasons why the NFC has a shot at maybe hopefully clinching the Super Bowl this year. Let's talk about another team that has a real good shot at maybe clinching a Super Bowl representative in the NFC, and that is the Eagles. Well, Jalen Hurts, man. Jalen Hurts, what more can you say about Jalen Hurts? After he was brought in after the Carson Wentz debacle and trade, Jalen Hurts has made this team his. He has one of the best offensive lines in football with Jason Kelsey at the helm, and it's just insane. This offense, is just insane. Devontae Smith, very good wide receiver as well. The offensive line just can't be stopped. It's one of the best offensive lines in football, can protect, and that opens up holes in the run game. But we also can talk about the defense a little bit. And Fletcher Cox, D tackle, a very big bright spot and a very well-known leader in that locker room. He's been there his entire career, just a great guy. And he might not be, he might be a shell of his former self in terms of production, but man, he's still a leader on this team, and this defense is still stacked with talent. But we get to the Cowboys, another team who can challenge for the NFC Championship game this year and punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. Hopefully, to be honest, the Cowboys getting off to a 2-0 start doesn't really surprise me with all the superstar talent they have. And this is a broken record. All these teams that I'm talking about have good talent to them. You got CD Lamb on the Cowboys. You got Dak Prescott, who's a decent enough quarterback that can lead your team. Yes, he's had interception problems in the past, but can he lead his team to the Super Bowl? We'll figure that out as the year goes on. Again, it's only the first two games, but these are just my thoughts. But then you got like Tony Pollard out of nowhere, who on the run game has been really good for them. But you got on defense, you got Trayvon Diggs, who's unfortunately injured right now, but he's one of the best corners in the NFC right now and possibly in football right now. But then you got Trevor Lawrence, another guy who is just a menace. He is a guy that I think is very slept on in the pass rush. He's good at pass rush. He's very well versed in that category. But then you got like people, I believe, like Leighton Vander Esch in the middle of that line who are just good tacklers. There are people out there that will say, oh, well, they're beating up on bad teams. But it's like, no team in the NFL is really, really bad. Even the rebuilding teams, to get in the NFL, you need to be at the top of your game in terms of athletic ability. So even for the rebuilding teams, I don't want to hear anything about all of them not being really strong. We'll see what the Cowboys do this season. And my biggest worry for them is the playoffs. Can they get over the hump? Can they be able to finally lock out games in the playoffs where it matters? Because that is the only thing I'm concerned about for them. If they can do that, they punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. But the Buccaneers, man, I'm so happy about this because I like Baker Mayfield. Didn't like him as a Brown, but from what I've seen from him from his time with the Rams and from his time now with the Buccaneers, I think he's found his stride. He's finally found his stride in the NFL, and he's done very well. So I'm very surprised. You got people like him on that offense. You got people like Mike Evans, even though he might not be there next year. You still got Chris Godwin, they're just absolute beasts. And then you got defense. You got Levante David. You got Shaq Barrett. You got these guys who are just cornerstones of that team. And if they can really pull out all the stops, they can win their division because their division, to be honest, I would assume it's going to be Buccaneers and Saints for the NFC South, trying to fight over who's going to win that division. And I just don't know. It's a coin flip in that division. With that division being a little bit weaker, I could see a real dogfight there. And I hope they do well in the NFC South because I'm kind of rooting for them and Baker Mayfield. The Saints. With the addition of Derek Carr this season, I was really impressed by the Saints right now in the first two games. They're winning close nail biters, but Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's a very capable starter. And I'm really annoyed by the way he was left out to dry with the Raiders, but he's on the Saints now and he's doing decently well. He's going to try and bring that team back up. And I just can't wait to see the dogfight in the NFC South to see who comes out on top. But a really big relief. The Commanders are 2-0. And Commanders fans, how we feeling? Doesn't it feel nice? Doesn't it feel nice to get out of the reign of Dan Schneider, a guy who frankly I don't think really cared about the organization, who frankly didn't care about winning, just wanted to run that franchise into a ground. How does it feel to have proper ownership? How does it feel to have hope? And I'm really proud of you guys because the people that have stuck around with the Commanders, man, you guys are some of the toughest fans in football and some of the most diehard fans because I wouldn't have put up with Dan Schneider's reign of the Commanders. So I'm really happy with them. Eric Bieniemy, even though he's not the head coach, Once Ron Rivera leaves, I think he should be promoted to head coach because the man was on the Chiefs. He was a double Super Bowl champion, and he went to the Chiefs as the offensive coordinator, didn't take the head coaching job, like it says on the screen there, because I messed up and thought he was the head coach for a second. But he took the job and was like, I've always been told that, and Andy Reid was the mastermind behind the Chiefs Super Bowl wins. Well, I'm going to go to a different team and show you all that, I was the big reason why we won those Super Bowls. And he's proving it here with the Commanders, and it's them against the world mentality. And I really enjoy it. So I hope they do very well this season. And maybe we'll see them in the playoffs. We don't know. Let's talk about another team on this list. And it's another NFC South team, and it's the Falcons. This is another team that really surprised me, and I'm happy for them, man. I really am because since Matt Ryan lost in the Super Bowl, you all know what I'm talking about. But since he lost in the Super Bowl, they just haven't found their stride, and it's only the first two games. I understand that, but they're winning their games and they're doing really well. So even though they might not win the division in my book, I would love to be proven wrong because I always like an underdog. And I hope they have a half decent season because it's nice to see. It's nice to see now things picking up. I don't even know if they're in a rebuild necessarily, but they're in Tweenersville. So if they can pick up a few wins, pick up a few places and try to contend and be in the hunt for it, that would be a big success for the Falcons. And I hope to see them in the next couple of years, maybe in the playoffs. But let's talk about on the other side, the AFC. Talk about the duo teams there. The Dolphins. It's about time something went right for the Miami Dolphins. I'm happy with it because the amount of superstar talent they have on this team, it's a broken record, I know, but Tyreek Hill. You got Tyreek Hill, who's he is the fastest NFL player on this team in terms of wide receiver. He's one of the best route runners. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. But we look at Tua Tagovailoa, and through week 2, he is the best in passing yards. I don't have the stat in front of me, so I do forget that. But it's him, Kirk Cousins, who are top 2 right now. And, he's made some comments about people that are still doubting him and doubting his arm and all that. And he's like, I don't care about the doubters. I'm showing it on the field. I'll let my play do the talking, basically. And, again, the superstar talent. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Mike Daniels, who is now the head coach. He's doing exceptionally well. And then you've got defense, which is Javon Holland. You got Jalen Phillips. You have cornerback Jalen Ramsey. You got Xavier Howard, who is no slouch. So it's nice to see the Dolphins actually succeeding. And I hope, honestly, that they challenge the AFC. It's going to be a tough uphill battle in the AFC because it's just a bloodbath. It's stacked with just talent galore. So they'll have to do it through the toughest conference. I wish them all the best in their playoff hunt. But the Ravens, just like the Cowboys, the same thing for the Ravens. You have one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL in Lamar Jackson. I know the running back memes and all that. Oh, he can't throw, but he won league MVP. I know it was a couple of years ago, but he still won it, and that means something. So he's gotten a lot of money to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. One of the biggest concerns with the Ravens that I have has been their wide receivers. I remember a couple of years ago, they've been having a lot of hard times with dropping the ball in crucial moments. They've had a lot of difficulty closing out games in the playoffs. They can get there, but they always choke in the playoffs. And that's the same thing with the Cowboys. If they can just fix up their wide receiver woes, if they can learn how to not choke when the games matter, man, they could be a Super Bowl contender. That and all the injuries, if they could stop getting hit by the injury bug, which is something that is out of their control, then they could make the playoffs and make a strong case to at least punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. I hope with Zay Flowers that they just drafted, those wide receiver woes can be a little nullified. You got Odell Beckham Jr. Hopefully, they have a good amount of wide receivers now that can actually catch the ball. But like everything, let's talk about the 0-2 teams, and let's start off with the Patriots. As a Seahawks fan, I'm kind of glad they're not great anymore. The evil empire is now being taken down a peg. I'm happy about that. But as a football fan, man, I never count the Patriots out of anything, even though they're at 0-2 start. Season's not over, man. They can turn it around like that, some teams. So we'll see if the Patriots can do it. And after the amount of winning that they did with Tom Brady, once that era ended in 2020, they've now had to take a step back, and they're going to have some growing pains. They're going to have some setbacks because now they have to find another franchise quarterback. Whether that's Mac Jones or whether that's Bailey Zappi will depend on how they're developing. But we'll see what happens with the Patriots. Even though I'm a Seahawks fan and I don't like Patriots, I never count them out because Bill Belichick he is the best coach in the NFL and has proven it time and time again. Let's talk about a 2-0 team that started off sluggish last year, and that is the Bengals. Man, I hope they turn it around because honestly, they have one of the most electrifying offenses in the NFL. You got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, you got Tyler Boyd. That is a wide receiver trio that is electrifying. That is one of the best three wide receivers in the league. And, I know he's having some issues with his calf. He didn't start off great. He got injured in training camp, and he's still probably battling that. So, Bengals, I know you're 0-2 right now, but have hope because remember what happened this offseason. Remember that your offensive line is trying to still get together and figure things out. You've got an injured Joe Burrow, it at least looks like, and you have departures on the defense of that team last year, and that's all on your back end. That's Von Bell and that's Jesse Bates, one of the best free safeties that you guys lost. So just again, take a breath. It's only 2 games. They will bounce back because the Bengals did this last year and they bounced back and they at least tried to contend for the AFC. And I think they can be still Super Bowl contenders. It's still early. Let's talk about the Texans. We all knew that the Texans were in a rebuild. We know it's not going to be fixed overnight. So being 0-2 here, you know what? D'Amico Ryan, welcome to being a head coach in the NFL. Former defensive coordinator for the 49ers. You got CJ Stroud, who looks to be your franchise quarterback. You got CJ Anderson, who is looking to be one of the best defensive prospects, at least in draft. And you know what? Just keep on building, man. Just keep on building. Keep sucking for a couple more years. Texans fans will wait because this is, I think, one of the first times that they've had hope in a long while after the Bill O'Brien saga from their team. So they will wait patiently. They've waited this long. They can wait a few more years so that you can do the rebuild properly and then come back and maybe, just maybe, be a threat in the AFC. But the Chargers, every time with this team, again, only 2 games. I understand that, but they should not be 0-2 right now. You got Khalil Mack, you got Derwin James, you got Joey Bosa, you got on offense, you have Justin Herbert, you have Keenan Allen, you have Mike Williams, you have Austin Eckler. What's going on? What is the problem? Because you have all these superstar players. And yes, you can say, oh, injuries happened last year. That's why we didn't compete. Well, that's not really, yeah, I don't know. Like, you can't use that really as an excuse every single year. So you need to pick this up. You need to pick this up because there's no reason for you guys to be 0-2 right now. And I hope you guys can turn it around because you should be able to with the amount of talent you have on your team. We get to the Broncos. Last season didn't go as planned, like far from it. You guys have Russell Wilson on your team. You guys have Jerry Jeudy. You guys have so much talent. Again, broken record. But you're in one of the toughest conferences. I get that. But what's going on, Sean? Sean Payton, what is going on? Because you said this offseason, sorry, not last year. You said this offseason that it was one of the worst coaching jobs you've ever seen in NFL history last year. You're 0-2 right now. At least Nathaniel Hackett got a win in his first 2 games. You are 0-2. Understand that I can't put my finger on what the problem is. But I think Sean Payton talking a lot of smack in the offseason has now painted a big target on his back to improve. And right now, an 0-2 start is not improving. That's getting worse. So you need to figure that out. I don't know if it's Russell Wilson. I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't understand what it is. But you know what? I thought this team was going to be a lot more hungry and ready to prove that last year was just a fluke. But it looks like right now that they're just regressing. And I hope you guys can turn it around. It's only the first 2 games of the season. I understand that. But please don't go down 0-4 or 0-3 because if you do, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole. That's the AFC. Let's talk about the NFC 0-2. And let's start off with the Vikings. What's going on, Vikings? What is the problem? Again, is this another coaching issue, or is this just because ownership, or is it because you're just the Vikings and you're cursed? Because you have one of the best receivers I have ever watched in football in Justin Jefferson. This man is a franchise changing talent. Kirk Cousins, you can't say, oh, it's the quarterback because Kirk Cousins is playing out of his mind. He is second in passing yards through week 2 behind Tua, like I mentioned. Man, your division, the NFC North, you got the Packers, Lions, and you, who are the 3 main top contenders. And honestly, the Packers have been running that division for I don't even know how long. You guys have the opportunity, if you can string some wins together, to compete for that top spot. It's you and the Lions and the Packers still. Packers are still there, but they're they're weaker on paper, but you guys need to just string some wins together, figure it out, because if you continue to go down this path, man, it's really going to suck because, again, another wasted year. I hope you can turn this around before it's not too late to do so. And let's talk about another team, the Bears. I just don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say with the Bears. It looks like there's a lot of distraction behind the scenes as defensive coordinator Alan Williams. He did leave the team and is not going to be back for this season. He left the team to deal with health issues and family matters. All the best to him, and I hope everything's okay. But it looks like there's just a bit of a distraction when your franchise quarterback in Justin Fields is saying, yeah, it might be the coaching and I not being on the same page. You know, there's a lot of information coming at me, but he then goes and takes responsibility for his bad play. He says, oh, my quote will be taken out of context. Let me just say that I take responsibility for how bad I'm playing and I just need to play better. That's it. Well, I hope you guys can figure out what problem there is because Justin Fields is amazing. He's shown that he can, run. He's shown that he can be a future franchise quarterback in this league, I think, already through his first couple seasons. And man, I just hope that the behind the scenes organizational stuff can be fixed quickly so that you can try and stop this skid you're on because I don't know. I hope you guys don't fall into another rebuild. It's just, you guys need to do better and figure out what is happening. But the Panthers, let's talk about the Panthers. Just like Houston, this is a rebuilding team. Okay. You got Bryce Young, who's out right now, but so you'll be using Andy Dalton in week 3. You got Bryce Young, you've got Frank Reich, who honestly is a decent head coach. I'm glad he's on that team. But guys, just keep with it. Stick with it. Don't try to be good right away. Suck for a little bit longer because just like the Texans, do the rebuild properly. Because I've seen rebuilds where teams go into a rebuild and then they want to get back to relevance so bad that they keep tweaking things and they keep making moves that just look like they're trying to compete, but they're just middling and they're on the fringes of being mediocre and being bad, and it never works out. So keep with the process. You got a bright future, so just keep going. Just keep going. Build the rebuild properly. And we get to the Cardinals. We all knew what the Cardinals were going to be heading into this season. They're another rebuilding team, but they're ripping it down to the studs. This is a way you do a rebuild. They're tanking for the first over pick. Whether that's going to be Caleb Williams or not, I have no idea. Too early to tell. But keep losing, Cardinals, because again, you ripping it down to the studs. Get rid of everybody. Get rid of everybody you don't want. People that don't want to be in Arizona, just let them leave. Try to get as much picks as you can for this year's and next year's draft, because that's just how you're going to rebuild your team. Once Buda Baker gets off of IR, grant his trade request, because right now he makes your team better and you want to be the worst possible team so that you can get not only the highest draft pick, but then you can just rebuild your entire franchise from the ground up. And I would really like to see you guys in the next couple of years, if you do this rebuild properly, like you're probably trying to do right now. I would really like to see a four-way fight for the top in the NFC West, because it's getting kind of boring trying to fight against the 49ers and the Rams all the time. Let's talk about the last thing on the list. TJ Watt becomes the all-time sack leader for the Steelers. This man, TJ Watt, one of the best pass rushers in the league. He is, in my opinion, this is just my list. It goes him and Myles Garrett for top two. And let's look at his career stats first. 89 games played, 221 solo tackles, 91 assisted, 81.5 sacks, 6 interceptions, 25 forced fumbles, 7 years of experience. He's only 28. And you look at the all-time sack leaders now, 2017 to present, TJ Watt, 81.5 sacks, 80.5 sacks for James Harrison. 2002 to 2017, 177 games. Cameron Hayward, 78.5 sacks. 2011 to present, 184 games. And Gildon, 76.5 sacks. 1994 to 2003, 157 games. And this is just insane. This is why TJ Watt is one of the best at pass rush, because he hasn't even cracked 100 games yet. All these guys below him have cracked more than 100 games. That's insanely fast. And this guy, TJ Watt, deserves all the praise for what he's done with the Steelers. And the Steelers have always had a stout defense. So, I'm not surprised that TJ Watt is doing as much as he has with the Steelers. And I wish him all the best in his career, because he's just so fun to watch. And it's actually really fun to watch some Steelers football from time to time. But that is it for the Seahawks News of the Week, episode 7 on the Seahawks Recap Show. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I hope to see you on Monday, as I will have the Seahawks and Panthers Week 3 game recap. Anyways, this is Ryan Koki of the Seahawks Recap Show, signing off. Go Hawks, go.